Gold has fascinated humanity for thousands of years. Yet one of the biggest misconceptions about gold is that finding gold-bearing quartz automatically means finding recoverable gold. It doesn't. In many cases, the gold remains completely locked inside the quartz, invisible, protected by one of the hardest and most chemically stable minerals found in nature. A quartz specimen may contain valuable gold while revealing almost nothing on its surface. Another specimen may display impressive iron staining, beautiful crystals, and promising mineralization, yet contain almost no recoverable gold at all. This raises an important question. How do miners, geologists, and experienced prospectors determine whether a piece of quartz is worth processing? And once promising quartz has been identified, how is the gold actually separated from solid rock? The answer is not a single operation. It is a carefully controlled sequence of mechanical processes. Each process has one objective: to progressively separate gold from the quartz without losing valuable material along the way. Every stage prepares the material for the next. Skip one step, and recovery efficiency drops. Perform each step correctly, and even microscopic gold particles can eventually be recovered. The investigation begins long before crushing equipment is switched on. Everything starts with observation. Step 1. Identification. The first stage is determining whether the quartz deserves further investigation. Not every quartz vein contains gold. Quartz forms under many geological environments. Some form from ordinary silica-rich fluids. Others develop within hydrothermal systems capable of transporting precious metals. The challenge is recognizing the difference. Professionals rarely rely on one clue. Instead, they evaluate several geological indicators simultaneously. Visible gold immediately attracts attention. Although uncommon, exposed gold provides direct evidence that precious metal entered the quartz during mineralization. However, visible gold is not required. Most productive quartz never reveals gold at the surface. Instead, prospectors begin examining alteration. Iron staining is one of the first features investigated. When sulfide minerals weather over time, oxidation frequently produces reddish-brown or yellow staining across fractures and exposed surfaces. These colors indicate that hydrothermal fluids once interacted with the surrounding rock. Again, they do not guarantee gold. They simply suggest that mineralizing processes occurred. Attention then shifts towards sulfide minerals: pyrite, arsenopyrite, chalcopyrite, galena, other metallic sulfides. These minerals often crystallize within the same hydrothermal systems responsible for transporting gold. Some deposits contain abundant sulfides with very little gold. Others contain significant gold associated with only minor sulfide mineralization. The objective is never to rely on one observation. Every clue contributes another piece of geological evidence. Quartz texture also becomes important. Massive white quartz, banded quartz, brecciated quartz, comb quartz, druzy crystal cavities. Every texture records a different stage of fluid movement and crystal growth. Experienced geologists study these textures because they reveal how mineralizing fluids behaved during vein formation. Fractures deserve equal attention. Gold-bearing fluids require pathways through rock. Faults, fractures, shear zones, and structural openings provide those pathways. Quartz filling complex fracture networks often deserves closer investigation than isolated massive veins lacking structural complexity. Host-rock relationships are examined next. Different rock types respond differently to hydrothermal alteration. Certain geological environments provide conditions more favorable for gold deposition than others. Understanding those relationships allows geologists to evaluate the mineral system instead of focusing solely on individual samples. Step 2. Breaking. Large quartz specimens cannot be processed efficiently. Their size prevents meaningful examination of internal mineralization. Breaking is therefore the first stage of liberation. The objective is simple: expose fresh rock surfaces. Large specimens are carefully reduced into smaller pieces using hammers, sledges, hydraulic breakers, or mechanical equipment depending upon the scale of the operation. Each fracture reveals information hidden inside the quartz: fresh mineralization, hidden sulfides, iron oxide coatings, crystal boundaries, alteration zones, occasionally visible gold. Fresh fractures provide far more reliable information than weathered surfaces. Surface weathering may hide important geological features developed millions of years earlier. Breaking removes that weathered exterior and exposes rock that has remained protected since the quartz originally formed. Prospectors continually examine every new fracture. Unexpected mineralization may suddenly appear several centimeters beneath an otherwise ordinary exterior. Some specimens reveal fine metallic grains. Others expose sulfide-rich bands following ancient fractures. Some display multiple generations of quartz growth, separated by mineral-rich seams. Every new surface expands the geological investigation. Breaking also prepares the material for efficient crushing. Large, irregular blocks reduce poorly inside crushers. Smaller, more uniform fragments improve equipment performance while producing more consistent particle sizes during later processing. Although no gold recovery occurs yet, this stage determines how effectively every following operation performs. Proper preparation always increases efficiency. Step 3. Crushing. Now the investigation enters one of the most important phases: liberation. Gold trapped inside quartz cannot be separated while surrounded by solid rock. The quartz itself must be reduced until the gold becomes physically exposed. This is the purpose of crushing. Different operations employ different equipment: jaw crushers, roll crushers, hammer mills, impact crushers, stamp mills, ball mills, portable field crushers, hand-operated dolly pots. Although their designs differ, every machine performs the same essential task: applying controlled mechanical force until quartz fractures. Quartz behaves in a predictable way under compression. Instead of bending, it fractures suddenly. These fractures propagate through crystal boundaries and internal weaknesses. As crushing continues, large fragments become progressively smaller. Every reduction exposes additional internal surfaces. Each newly exposed surface increases the probability that enclosed gold particles become liberated from surrounding quartz. Liberation does not necessarily occur immediately. Large gold particles may separate after relatively coarse crushing. Microscopic particles often remain attached until much finer reduction occurs. This explains why crushing progresses through several particle sizes rather than attempting complete reduction in one operation. Controlled reduction provides greater efficiency while minimizing unnecessary production of extremely fine material. Particle size becomes increasingly important. Material crushed too coarsely may retain unreleased gold. Material crushed excessively fine increases processing complexity during later gravity separation. Achieving the correct balance becomes one of the most important decisions during mechanical extraction. Throughout crushing, operators continuously monitor product size. The objective is not producing powder. The objective is exposing gold. Every unnecessary reduction wastes energy while increasing processing costs. Every insufficient reduction leaves valuable gold locked inside quartz. Liberation therefore represents a balance between efficiency and recovery. As crushing nears completion, the original quartz specimen has undergone an extraordinary transformation. What began as a single solid rock has become thousands of individual mineral particles: quartz, sulfides, oxides, heavy minerals, and hopefully, liberated gold. Step 4. Screening and classification. Classification is one of the most overlooked stages in gold recovery, yet it has a direct influence on every process that follows. Gold particles behave differently depending on their size. Coarse gold settles differently from fine gold. Quartz fragments respond differently from heavy minerals. If every particle size is processed together, recovery efficiency decreases dramatically. Classification solves this problem. The crushed material passes across screens, or vibrating sieves containing carefully selected openings. Large particles remain above the screen. Smaller particles pass through. Each screen separates the material into more uniform size fractions. Oversized fragments return for additional crushing. Nothing is discarded. Material that still contains locked gold simply continues through another crushing cycle until the desired particle size is reached. This closed process improves both efficiency and recovery. Instead of wasting energy reducing every particle to powder, only oversized material receives further crushing. Every correctly sized particle moves forward. Uniform particle size becomes extremely important during gravity recovery. Particles of similar size respond much more predictably to flowing water. Large quartz fragments no longer interfere with fine gold. Small, heavy minerals are no longer hidden beneath oversized rock fragments. The investigation has now created an organized sample. Each fraction can be processed under conditions specifically suited to its size. Only after classification has been completed can the first true gold recovery test begin. Step 5. Panning, the first gold test. Panning is not simply a recovery method. It is an investigation. Its purpose is to answer one important question. Has crushing successfully liberated free gold? A representative sample from the classified material is placed inside a gold pan. Water is added. The pan is gently submerged. Controlled circular movement begins mixing the material. As agitation continues, every particle starts responding to its own density. Quartz, feldspar, clay, organic matter. These lighter materials remain closer to the surface. Gold behaves very differently. Its density is nearly 3 times greater than quartz. Gravity immediately begins pulling it toward the bottom of the pan. Every washing motion removes another layer of lighter sediment. The process continues slowly. Precision becomes more important than speed. Aggressive washing risks carrying fine gold away. Gentle washing allows gravity to complete the separation naturally. Eventually, only the heaviest concentrate remains: black sand, heavy minerals. And if the investigation has been successful, gold. The appearance of even a few small gold particles changes everything. It confirms that liberation has occurred. It demonstrates that free gold exists within the processed quartz. It also provides valuable information: gold particle size, particle shape, distribution, relative abundance. Panning therefore serves as both a recovery technique and an analytical tool. It verifies whether the mechanical preparation stages have successfully exposed recoverable gold. But processing an entire crushed sample by hand would be slow and inefficient. Once free gold has been confirmed, larger quantities of material move into a far more productive stage: gravity concentration. Step 6. Gravity concentration. Gravity has separated gold from surrounding rock for millions of years. Modern recovery equipment simply applies the same natural principle under controlled conditions. Every gravity separator operates using one fundamental difference: density. Gold possesses an exceptionally high specific gravity compared to quartz and most common rock-forming minerals. This property allows mechanical equipment to separate heavy particles without using chemical reactions. Several types of gravity recovery systems accomplish this task. Each uses a slightly different design, yet every system follows the same physical principle. Allow gravity to retain heavy minerals while water removes lighter material. One of the most familiar systems is the sluice box. Inside the sluice, water flows across a series of riffles. As material enters, turbulence develops behind each riffle. Heavy particles settle into protected low-pressure zones. Lighter quartz continues downstream. Every riffle functions as a miniature natural gold trap. Shaker tables use another approach. The table vibrates continuously while water flows across its surface. This combination of vibration, friction, and flowing water causes particles to separate according to both density and size. Gold gradually migrates into its own recovery zone, while lighter minerals move toward discharge areas. Spiral wheels rely upon centrifugal force. As rotating motion combines with flowing water, dense particles remain within controlled channels, while lighter particles migrate outward. Blue bowls introduce yet another variation. Water creates a controlled circular flow across a smooth surface. Heavy particles gradually migrate toward the center, while lighter minerals overflow the edge. Although these machines appear very different, each performs exactly the same investigation. They continuously ask one question: which particles are heavy enough to resist flowing water? The answer determines everything. Quartz leaves first. Lighter minerals follow. Heavy minerals remain. Gold settles together with other dense materials. By the end of gravity concentration, the enormous volume of crushed quartz has been reduced dramatically. What originally consisted of buckets, or even tons of crushed rock, has now become a relatively small quantity of dense concentrate. This concentrate contains the material most likely to hold recoverable gold. But another challenge immediately appears: The gold is no longer surrounded by quartz. It is surrounded by other heavy minerals: black sand, magnetite, ilmenite, hematite, garnet, chromite, and numerous dense mineral grains that behave remarkably like gold during gravity separation. Gravity has successfully removed the light material. Now the investigation enters its most delicate phase, separating gold from minerals that refuse to leave it. This stage demands far greater precision than any process completed so far, because every movement now involves material where even the smallest mistake can result in valuable gold being lost. That investigation begins with cleaning the concentrates, and it is often where the highest level of skill becomes essential.